Hey, it's Mark Ferguson with Invest for More, and unfortunately, I am at one of my rental properties now delivering an eviction notice. So that's never fun. I'll tell you why, how it happened, how it came about, and why I'm doing it and not our property manager. So let me get to that right now, and we'll be right back. Yes, we have the Aston Martin out. It's Fun Car Friday, and this is one of my rentals that we rented 3 or 4 months ago. And yeah, we're serving an eviction notice already. We had the tenant move in, pay his first month's rent, his deposit, and he never made a payment since then. And he's actually a real estate broker. And pretty much what he did was made excuse after excuse after excuse about having closings that got delayed, and his bank was hacked. He's gonna sell his car, but the car buyer moved to California all of a sudden. Just crazy amounts of excuses, and have literally paid nothing since the very beginning. So we posted an eviction notice last week for 30 days because you can't evict in Colorado. Then we talked to our lawyer, and he actually said you can evict in 5 days. We're like, oh my God, why? Because it's a commercial lease. So we use a commercial lease. It's a commercial property, although you can live here too. Our lease is all commercial. So he said there's no restrictions on how long notice must be given on commercial properties. It all depends what our lease says. Our lease says 5 days, so we can post the eviction in 5 days and get it started if he doesn't pay us in full in 5 days. So we're back here posting it again after posting it the first time. And then also, there is no national eviction moratorium for every property and every building like some people think. The national CDC eviction moratorium was for Fannie, Freddie loans. So if you had a conventional loan with Freddie Mac or Fannie Mae and your landlord, then maybe you couldn't evict. There are some rules there. But if you don't, if you have private money loans, cash, local bank loans, things like that, that doesn't affect you. And it also depends on the state. Each state has different laws and regulations regarding the evictions, the loan, or and who you can evict, when you can evict, why you can evict, all of that. So we actually did 2 evictions in 2020. Or did we do 3? We might have done 3. I think we did 3. And one of them was before COVID hit. And then the next one was because of the seller who wouldn't move out. So they weren't behind on rent. So because they weren't behind on rent, we could still evict during COVID. And then the third one was a tenant who had code violations. So we evicted for code violations and not back rent. So there are ways to evict. There's ways to get tenants out, even with COVID, even with supposed eviction moratoriums. So if you move into a property and you never pay rent, then that doesn't mean you're scot-free. You can just stay there forever. Yes, we can still evict you. So while it sucks that we have to evict the guy in back, the front is leased. So we leased it to a jiu-jitsu place. Super cool guy. So we're hoping that goes well, a little better than the place in back. And at least that happened, so we have part of the property lease and it's not all vacant. But you have good and bad with rental properties, that's for sure. And we haven't had a really bad tenant like this for a very long time. And the reason I was doing the eviction and posting this stuff is because it's one of our commercial properties, and I have been managing our commercial properties still. All of our residential properties we have managed by property managers, but they're not doing amazingly either. So I'm not sure which is better. But we'll get that posted. We'll get the eviction started. We'll see if this tenant has any response at all. Like literally doesn't talk to me, say anything unless I ask him what's going on. He's like, oh yeah, we've got all this stuff lined up. I'll get you paid tomorrow. Never hear anything for a week. Oh yeah, I'll get everything lined up. I'll pay you tomorrow. Never hear anything. So it's good to do due diligence. You can't base everything on what people say. It's more about actions. You learn that a lot as a property manager and owning properties. A lot of people have a lot of stories, but until they actually show with their actions, that they'll come through, it doesn't really mean much. All right, thanks for watching. Of course, check out investormore.com for much more information on our flips, rentals, being an agent, all that great stuff. And we love the likes and comments, so keep those coming. And we'll be back with much more coming up here soon.